Today, I'm talking to Beth Dickerson, owner and partner at Gibson Sotheby's International Realty. Beth is ranked a top agent in the country and in all of Sotheby's International Realty. She has listed and sold more than 2,500 properties, totaling more than $1 billion in sales. Among these sales, she has represented numerous notable clients. A few that can be named are Manny Ramirez, Mike Lowell, Doc Rivers, Tom Brady, David Price, Wes Welker, Herb Chambers, and Bill Simmons. Beth was the proprietor of her own real estate company for several years before she joined the residential division of R.M. Bradley in 1993, where she was the top producer for more than a decade. She founded her own boutique real estate firm in November of 2003, Dickerson Real Estate, before merging with Gibson Sotheby's International Realty in 2007. With all of these accomplishments and all that she has accomplished, what is most impressive to me about Beth is that after such amazing and unsurmountable success, she is still one of the most down-to-earth, unassuming, and authentic people I have met and worked with. Today, she and I talk about not the tricks of the trade, not faking it until you make it, but just showing up and what happens when you do it. Thanks for listening to the Jerry Metcalf podcast, where top real estate agents tell how they do it. This podcast was created for real estate agents across the country to come together, sharing ideas to take your, their, and our business to the next level. Okay, everybody, it's the Jerry Metcalf podcast for top real estate agents tell how they do it. Today is Beth Dickerson. So excited to have her on the show. Beth is an agent in Boston. Excited to talk to you, Beth, about, her success is tremendous. We're going to go into it a little bit more, but I just want to welcome you to the show first. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So Beth has done I think you've done over 2,500 transactions in your career, but even more impressive is you've broken some records. She can't remember her rankings because she's been a top agent in the state, a top agent in the country. She can't remember what numbers are where. She represents some of the highest profile celebrities and athletes in the country. And you've sold over $1 billion in real estate in your career.
Correct. Yes. But it's a long career.
See, she wouldn't even take, but it's been a long time. She's like, but it's been a long time. Long time, not long time. $1 billion is one of those. Not many people exceed $1 billion in sales. Not many real estate agents. So with that said, how did you, everybody, she's in Boston. That is not an easy market to break into. And for those of you who know Boston or anything about it, it's not the easiest market to build a network in, especially not doing the kinds of multi-million-dollar transactions that Beth does. Tell us a little bit about how you got started and go from there.
So it's a funny story. Even when I think about it today, I get a giggle out of it. But I moved to the Caribbean for a year to take a year off to travel, sail, I grew up on the water and I love the water and still do. And
all right, tell us where you grew up to give us a
I grew up in the Eastern Shore in Maryland, Cambridge, Maryland, actually, on the Chesapeake Bay. And I actually met a group of sailors who were taking their boat down to St. Thomas. And they said, and we became such good friends. I started sailing with them in the harbor and out in the Chesapeake Bay. And they're like, you really should come to St. Thomas and take some time off from college and bartend and sail. And I was like, I'm going to do it. So I packed up everything I had and landed on Halloween night. I think it was the fall of 1987. And when I landed, it was the last plane that went in. It was a mudslide. So when I got off the plane, I got in a taxi and I went to this bed and breakfast that was set up for me to stay. And the next morning when I got up, the ladies that owned the bed and breakfast said, we need you to start working. We understand that you're a bartender. Our friends told us, and none of the bartenders can get to this side of the island. and we have all these cruise ships that are here, and we need a bartender. So go buy a white shirt and black pants, which I did, and I started bartending the next day.
Wow.
Yeah. So, but then while I was bartending, I needed a place to stay because I couldn't stay in this bed and breakfast for long term because I had a commitment to stay down there to myself for a year. So I found this real estate broker who was sitting alone in his office, and I said, I'm trying to find a place to live. And he showed me some apartments that day. And at the end of the tour, he said, well, my fiance and I are caretakers of this big house up on the mountain. Why don't you just come live with us? And I was like, great. So I moved in with him and his fiance. I kept bartending. And he did bring home a brochure one day. And this is where my entree to real estate is. And the brochure was on the table in the kitchen. And I was in love with this house. So the next morning when I went to work, I said, do you mind if I bring this brochure to work? And he's like, no, take it. So I brought it to work. And these two guys sat at my bar, and I asked them what they were doing in St. Thomas, and we're here to buy an investment property. And I was like, oh. And I gave them the brochure, and I said, call my friend, my roommate, and look at this house. So when I got home that night, he said, those guys bought that house, the brochure that you brought to work. And by the way, you don't have to pay rent anymore. And I was like, really?
Wow.
Yeah. So that was kind of like, I mean, not that I thought it was that easy, but I found it interesting that, right place, right time kind of stuff. So then I stayed for the year, just sailed around, did a lot of sailboat racing. I spent a lot of time in Antigua, St. Martin, St. Bart's with races. And when I got back to the States, I sailed from Antigua to Newport, Rhode Island. And that's when I decided I was going to get off the boat and get a job and get a career. So I got my real estate license and in Newport, Rhode Island, but it's reciprocal. So when I went up to Boston with all my girlfriends, because we were going to rent in Back Bay, where I've been living and selling since then, never left. I walked up and down the street, and I went to 4 offices and got four job offers, and I took one of them and been doing it ever since.
Wow. So that was that when you officially started, it was 30, what years ago? 30.
I think I started officially in 88. I mean, it was literally a year later. So, I mean, I came back, I bartended, I went to real estate school. It was like, different way of doing it back then. Obviously you can crash course it now on a weekend. Then it was like an 8-12 week course, 2 nights a week, it was forever. But I took my real estate license and got it, and then went to Boston and got a job.
So you say you got a job, but you just like hung your license someplace, or did you have a job in Boston?
Oh, when I first started, I had 3 jobs.
Okay.
So I did real estate. I was bartending because I was so scared about the first year of real estate. Everyone was like, oh, it's so hard to get in Boston on top of it. So I was like, I needed money to pay the bills. So I was bartending. Then I did some temp work, and then I did a little bit of modeling for a few years. And then real estate took off literally after a year. I got my first sale, on Thanksgiving Day. I was working by myself, and this guy came knocking on the door with his father, and just graduated from college, and his dad was buying a condo, and I took him out and showed him some places, and he bought that day. And that was my first sale.
How long were you in the business before you did your first deal?
Probably 6 months. Yeah, 6 months. So that's why I'm glad I had my other jobs. You had to have another job.
Exactly. So 6 months into it, it was basically like, were you agent on duty? You said okay.
Well, no, I was an agent that never took a day off. So one day after.
Are there agents that take days off?
What's that?
Do agents take days off?
I know, really, we don't. But back then, we sat in the office because you didn't have computers and all that. So I went into the office because my family was far away and I didn't go to Maryland. So I was like, I had a day off and I wasn't bartending because all the restaurants were closed. So I went into the office and started just digging through the paper and all that stuff you do. And this guy walked in with his dad, and his dad came to visit him for Thanksgiving and to help him find a place to live.
So you did that first deal. Obviously, there was a little luck, but you were prepared for the luck, which is why it happened.
Yeah.
From doing your first deal to, it's been a 30-something year. I mean, but you've really, really gotten some traction that most people never see in their career. How did it go? You said the first year it kind of took off. Tell us how.
Well,
you got your traction after that first deal.
Yeah. I did. And then I was bartending, and then I met these two guys that were developers from Connecticut. And they asked me about me because I had a little bit of a Southern accent. They wanted to know about me, and we were talking about what they did and where I came from. And I told them that I also was a real estate agent and that my office was literally across the street, which it was. Like the bar was here,
Yeah.
the real estate office. So I would go back and forth between those two jobs. Like it was a coincidence.
Wow. Yeah.
So when I told them that, then they wanted to meet with me and my manager and the owner, and they were doing a 10-unit two 10-unit developments. So it was 20 units. And I remember when I had to design the brochure and like go get it printed and like fold it over and like for my presentation, I was like in my 20s, and they gave me those listings. So I sold, and that put me kind of on the map. The fact that there was this kid who got these 20 listings, and in Back Bay, which is like prime location that I got.
Wow. In Back Bay?
Yeah. There were two 10-unit buildings owned by the same family. There were rental properties in the family for years, and these guys bought them and turned them into condos. Like did renovations to each one, and I just sold them like 2 beds, 1 bed studios.
That's incredible. So that's where you got your traction. But you know what I have to say, you just don't seem like Boston. You're just, I have to be able to be careful how I say this, nothing against, but different, you're still very, I would even say Southern, just so down to earth. Boston is kind of a tough market and has it's a tough market to break into. It's a tough market to build a network in, from what I hear.
Yeah.
Is that true? And how have you don't seem like it's been a challenge for you at all. You just take what comes and run with it.
Right. I think that it's probably my attitude. I just have an attitude that I'm going to do it, and this is what I want to do. And, I follow my goals, but I think that, I also got involved with a lot of charities, and I married, I had 2 babies. So I started meeting all these people in my neighborhood because I lived in Back Bay. I worked in Back Bay. Then I started doing real estate in Back Bay, and I started meeting all these families, so that it just kind of snowballed, like all these connections and referrals. And I mean, still to this day, most of my business, I'd say 90% of my business is referrals.
Wow. What has been, in doing business, what do you think has been the biggest challenge or have those challenges changed over the years?
They've definitely changed challenges in the beginning were, you didn't even have computer. I mean, I was digging in the newspaper every Sunday with my elbows black, circling ads, trying to find FSBOs and properties for sale because there was nothing else to use. So, so those days of working were actually a little less stressful, because now you got your buyers calling you, texting you, emailing you, WhatsApping you, FaceTime you, messaging you. Like you can't keep track of where everything's coming from, to you at one time. It's the clients in Europe are WhatsApping me. Clients from here are doing this. Some clients don't use their cell, so they're emailing. So I've got things happening in 6 different directions. So I find that challenging to keep it all organized in my head.
So what's your biggest, how do you manage it? How did you manage it then? I kind of want to ask you both. How did you manage it then and get your traction, and how do you manage it now? Pick the answer you like better first.
Believe it or not, most of the stuff that I manage is in my head. So like I don't have nothing modern on my computer. You can ask my poor assistant, who I feel sorry.
You have WhatsApp.
Yeah, I have WhatsApp because someone told me to download it, and then I just figured it out. It rang one day, and I was like, "Oh, what's this?"
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, but most of the stuff, I make a point to memorize my day the day before, and I must memorize it 5-10 times so that when I get up, it's so fresh in my mind, because I'm so fearful of missing an appointment or missing something with somebody. Like that's the one thing I think that I do that is crazy.
That's awesome, because the quote is, tomorrow starts the night before.
Yeah.
And the night before, do you have a meditation or anything you do to run through your day 5 times? I've run through my day once or twice.
Yeah.
But 5 times might do me some good.
Yeah. No, I think that it's just, I also write down all my appointments. So I carry a calendar and everything's written.
Yeah.
But then I also put it on my calendar on my phone with an alert.
Yeah.
So besides memorizing my day, then I'll look at my alerts will come. I put everything an hour in advance. So I know an hour in advance what I have to do.
Yeah.
So that's just the two things that have worked for me.
So that's what you do. And your focus is, sounds like your biggest focus is people, just the time you spend with people in the market.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I would say that that's mostly what I care about. I'm not a techie person.
What is your secret superpower? If you had one as a real estate agent, doing your day 5 times before the night before?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I guess I treat people the way I want to be treated. I try to start my day with kindness and end it with kindness. And you don't always run across that all day, but I think I look for it and I run from it. If I don't think I'm getting it, or I think it's going to be a bad experience, I may run from it.
So you made me think of, well, first of all, let's reiterate what you said. If something's going to be a bad experience, is that conscious or subconscious when you go? Is it client, deal? What is it that you find yourself?
Probably experience. How many times can you get burned in real estate, right? I mean, all kinds of things can happen to you. You can show somebody condos for 2 years, and then you get I'm so sorry, but I found this place someone told me about, and I'm sorry, didn't you? All those things. And I just feel like I'm loyal, so I want loyalty back. Like, I feel like it's a two-way street.
Yeah.
So I guess I expect as much as I give, from my clients,
So
have respect for myself.
I think your secret superpower. So Kevin Brown with Nikki Field.
Yeah.
He's been on the show and he's so cute. He says, you'll ask somebody their secret superpower, their secret sauce, and they'll go, I don't know. And, he speaks with a lot of people from other countries, and they're a very international team. And he goes, they forget to mention, they think like speaking 7 languages fluently isn't a secret superpower. That's just like what they do. So to that point, your secret superpower is you're in and I'm sure I'm going to offend some people. I've learned I'm good at that. So everybody, please forgive me in advance in saying this, but you are in a culture and an environment that is a little bit of an enclave, or a little bit of kind of, you live in what I perceive from a distance of kind of a privileged society of Boston. And
the neighborhood I focus on is, yes.
Yeah. So in that, there's a little bit of, for lack of a better word, and I apologize in advance, or maybe I don't, but there's a level of pretentiousness, or maybe not even pretentious is probably the wrong word. It's not an easy bubble to break into. You came from outside of that. And not only did you break into the business, and we hear how you did it, but it wasn't just a one-time, you didn't have your one-time wonder, your one-time hit or whatever. You were perpetually improving and growing and getting traction in your business. What do you attribute to that? And you may not know, but I want to point that out to everybody about you, because it's in listening to you, I want them to know that about you, that you're just naturally successful. Well,
I think that, I take a lot of pride in what I do, and I look at it as a serious career. Not every agent is a full-time agent, right? Some agents do it part-time. Some agents think it's going to be fun. Everyone gets into it for different reasons. But I think that people can feel it and see that I'm very knowledgeable. I study the market. I understand the market. They know that when we're together, that I'm giving them information and data that they maybe normally would never know. It's like you said, it's 7 days a week. I truly am available every day, anytime. Someone texts me, do you have sometime of the day to call? And I call them back right that second.
Yeah.
So I think it's just a passion, right? I feel like it's always been a passion for me, and I love what I do. I can't wait to do it the next day. I can't wait to have appointments. So I feel like that's what drives me, is that I'm passionate about. I do think about a lot of people who don't love their jobs, who hate their jobs. And I always feel so grateful and thankful that I love my job.
So
not a lot of us out there that do.
True. Well, and we forget that, or I forget that, because sometimes there's things about my job I don't love, or there are things that are very challenging, but definitely always something I look forward to doing the next day and seeing where we're going to grow and take it. We talked before the show about you have a lot of clients whose names are well known around the country and around the world. How did you win? I mean, it's not like you had a couple, you've got dozens. How did you win business like that? How did you break into those circles? How were you positioned so that those people came to you?
I always wonder the answer to that question. I feel like, I think a lot of it is just like everything that I've done. Like, I feel like, I've always been a big sports fan. Like, I've gone to like Celtics games, Red Sox games, and I think that been very charitable. So I think a lot of people see me at these charity events and see me at these games, and it's more like, insight in mind. Like, they just saw me everywhere and they knew what I did. And I did a lot of, probably at one point, a lot of marketing, to get myself out there. These days it's not much marketing, but I just feel like it kind of, one person fell in my lap and then the other ones followed. It was kind of like dominoes.
Well, what I love about that is what I hear is a lot of people focus on the next deal, the next deal, the next deal. Every deal that came to you, you focused on that deal and delivered at the highest level possible, which just naturally brought the next deal.
Yeah. Yeah, because people will sing your praises, and say how great the experience was. And then they're like, oh, and they might say, you should really call her or at least talk with her. And then usually I would connect with people when I spoke to them, but.
What is your biggest lesson, challenge, aha in being a real estate agent?
I think I did think about that the other day. What was my biggest aha moment?
You probably had a few after 2,500 transactions and over $1 billion in deals.
Yeah, I'm trying to think what was my aha. I know last night I kind of was thinking about some of the questions you might ask, and that was one of them. Aha. I don't know. What was yours? Give me an idea what aha moment is.
God, I'm not supposed to answer the questions. I interview myself all the time anyway. I
can't remember. Edit.
Yours? No, heck no, we're not editing. This is too good. We love it raw. Actually, if you do want to edit, you can tell me.
No, I'll use it, edit that.
but we're going to segue because it's going to come to you what it was. I think a lot of people's biggest aha is just what it really takes to be successful, or that chasing business is the worst way to win business, or things like that. But on you, that wasn't aha. That's just you. We talked before the show about you had some, we talked about one of your record-breaking deals. I think it was in Beacon Hills. Is that right?
Yes.
And you broke the record on, I think, sales price and square foot price.
Yes, it was a project that I did in Beacon Hill. It was a company, actually development company out of Paris, France, that bought this building from a Unitarian church. It was like originally built as some kind of book company or something, book press company. Anyway, so they interviewed me to take the 7 units. And they have a local man on the ground here who's also French. And so we all kind of bonded, and I got this development. It took a while for them to build it because they brought everything over from Italy. It's called Maison Vernon. And we're actually doing our second project right now. I just sold them 2 buildings side by side, brownstones on Commonwealth Avenue, and we're making those into 5 units. But the penthouse at the one in Beacon Hill, we were asking $10.8 million, and I got into a bidding war with 3 buyers, and it sold for $15.65 million, so almost 50% over asking, $37.50 a foot. It was just, a situation where, it was definitely news in the city. People were like, wow, and the story's the story, because I don't want to get into people's personal, information. But yeah, it was a big sale and price per foot.
And that was a year or 2 ago, wasn't it?
2 years ago, yeah.
2 years ago, yeah.
Well, actually, it closed last fall, but they put it under contract 2 years ago. Last spring, yeah.
Okay.
And then we sold out that project, and then I sold them the other projects, and now we're starting that, and it's going to be another 2 years to finish that. They're very high-end builders, but and I've sold different penthouses. I mean, I've sold one house in Beacon Hill 3 times. It went from the first time for 9.5, and then it went for 10.5, and then I just sold it again for 13.5. And every time I sold it, it got gutted. People were gutting this brand new house. It's the craziest story. But but now there's a house that's sold since that record. Something has sold for more expensive. But sometimes I sell the same property 3, 4, 5 times.
Yeah.
You know, which is interesting.
9.5, 10.5, and 14.5.
Yeah.
What is it that draws? Because there are a lot of agents where you're the listing agent, the house sells, but they have a buyer agent.
Yes.
And yet you keep becoming the listing agent, and you're not an agent that goes and you're not chasing down other people's clients. They're coming to you.
Right.
What is it about that is attracted these sellers to you over and over?
The first 2 times I sold that house, I was the listing and the buyer agent.
Well, that helps.
Yes.
Wow.
It does help. And then they come back to you to sell it, and they come back to sell it. And the 3rd time I sold it, I was a listing agent and somebody else sold it to them. And then now they have it back on for $22 million right now.
Wow.
Yeah. So that house has gone through a transformation in 15 years. It's been gutted at least 3, 4 times.
So when you're double ending $10+ million deals, you're not doing too badly. Do you think that was a coincidence, or is there something you're doing to market the properties, or the way you're positioning your listings to buyers that makes a difference? Or
I think that, I guess if you really, really love a property and you're really passionate about it, it probably comes through. I've had people who didn't want to see that house, and I was like, no, you have to see it, and tell them all the reasons why. And they walk in the door, they'll be like, okay, now I get it. You know, like they're describing the house to me, but they don't believe it's the house. Like they go, no, I have to be on this street. I have to be on this block. I'm like, no, you have to see this house. And then they would buy it.
Yeah. That's a great example.
Yeah.
What has been, you've had some tough clients. You can't be in this business and not have tough clients. What can you share with us about tough clients and what you've learned?
Well, I've definitely had some tough clients. I guess we all have. And I definitely have had a listing that very challenging. The situation was challenging. It was hard access. I could only go in 3 days a week when the cleaning lady was there. I never had a set of keys. It was $11 or $12 million. Anyway, I sold it twice in 4 years, and both times the seller, after I've worked so hard, would kill the deal for no real reason, no valid reason. So, I stuck in there. I felt like I put all that effort and work into it. I was like, I'm not walking away from this situation. Like this is going to sell one day. It's currently off the market, and he's called me recently and said he might put it back on, and I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know.
You're going to have to just give him it sounds like he values you. You're just going to have to give him a rule book in advance.
Yeah.
I want to start giving clients like common seller symptoms.
Yeah.
And then give them cures. Like, this is a bottle of wine for anxiety. This is, like, give them different, like, here's a day at the spa. Here's a massage. Right. When you get this symptoms, here's the best thing to cure the symptom. When you want to call me 20 times a day, just turn your phone off. Or I've got somebody who will give you a massage all day and take it from you. Anything. That sounds insensitive, everybody, but us real estate agents, we get what we're talking about.
Yes.
What, like, the first time you did a really, well, let's back up. We were talking a little bit about representing celebrities, representing athletes. So, like, you represent a lot of people in that world. Is there a difference between representing a famous, high profile, well-known athlete and other high net worth clients?
Yes. I feel like the high profile clients, it's definitely a business transaction. There's not a lot of emotion with the high profile people, because, like, for example, athletes, they're traded, they move around, it's like they want to buy a home, but when they get traded or they're going somewhere else, it turns into a business transaction. There's not a lot of emotion, just get it sold, make it happen. And they want it done fast. So,
which is not a bad thing.
Yeah. So I feel like it's a little bit of an easier, non-emotional transaction. It's business. and usually deal with their agents or their lawyers. You don't really deal with them much. You know, anytime you have a question, you're getting all the answers through the agent. So that's the difference. It's like having a secretary or an assistant for one of your clients versus this is like an agent for a celebrity.
And what about, it's probably pretty important to be discreet about who they are and how you position that, or how does that usually go?
Yeah, I feel like, you know, some people get celebrity listings and I think they take that celebrity listing to build their own business and don't really care about the privacy and so I will not talk about my clients. I don't prance it around. I don't advertise their name anywhere. I mean, recently with social media, some people want you can put it out there, but it's not like I walk in the door and say, this is blah, blah's house. Now, if it's someone like Tom Brady's, of course they're going to know it's Tom Brady's house. But in some cases, I've sold people's houses. They had no idea whose it was, you know.
Wow.
No pictures are up, you know. It's some of these athletes live in, you know, brownstones and no one even knows they live there.
Tell us a little bit about selling Tom Brady's house, whatever you might be able to disclose.
I have not sold it, and it's currently kind of off the market because of COVID. And I don't know what's gonna happen with it, but I've had it on for exactly a year, and
okay. So we'll hit on this for a minute. These are kind of, I always like try to record podcasts because the times change, but I think COVID has gotten to be, we're in August. By the time we release this, we'll be at the end of August of 2020, more than likely. But how is in Atlanta, we have, you know, we're wearing masks and we're careful, but I think Atlanta is a pretty, I say liberal, meaning liberal on how their approach is. We're out and about a lot. What is it like in Boston? And how's it affecting real estate? Still pretty hot there, isn't it?
Well, it's August is our slowest month historically, so I guess it's very slow right now. But no one's surprised. We hope it comes back in September. But it's a state law. You have to wear a mask. You don't have the right to make that decision or not. You can't go in anywhere without a mask on.
Yeah.
So everyone has them on. I mean, even at every doorman building that I have a listing in or show, they only allow one person or one family in the elevator at a time. Yeah. Even my building that I live in, only one resident can go in the elevator at a time, or families. And we have to have mask ons at all times for common areas.
I think everybody has masks on here at all times. It's probably not, well, I think it's not a state law, but the cities, it's a law in the cities. And there's this whole, like, this isn't supposed to be a political show, but everybody's just, despite who can enforce what, we're wearing them. Yeah. So that's great.
Yeah.
But, are you guys showing properties? Is it, the market in Atlanta is hot. It's 40% up in closings, 20% up, 40% up in contracts year over year.
That's crazy.
20% up in closings. Atlanta Fine Homes is like 100% up in contracts.
Awesome.
What are you guys doing in Boston?
I think that we're a little bit down. We're like a little bit down in value, we're a little bit down in activity, a little bit down in sales. What I've noticed is that there's right now in Back Bay, for example, there's 72 properties either under agreement or closed in the last 3 months.
Yeah.
And 7 of those are over 3 million.
Wow.
The rest of them are under 3 million. So I feel like, you know, the 600,000-700,000 up to like 2.5 million has been strong.
Mm-hmm.
You know, different stories of different people, and the bigger transactions have been with people that probably just they're gonna stay here and live here, and they're not really, they know one day it's gonna go away and they're gonna make the purchase. But a lot of people are on a wait and see. They want to see if it's gonna get, the buyers is gonna grow. They're all in this wait and see pattern. Election year on top of it.
Oh,
so
yeah, that's
election year, we've got COVID, and everyone's kind of like, well, I'll just stay in my summer home until October.
It's interesting to see how, because the second home markets are blowing up from what I understand. And so how every single market has been affected. So it's kind of an independent.
Right.
Like what you're telling me is
any place around the water near Boston, it's on fire. You know, any state, Newport, Rhode Island, North Shore. I mean, everything's selling. You can't find anything.
So is there anything you're doing? You're probably just resting because, or trying to, you're
No,
probably still very busy, but is
yeah,
there anything you're
I'm
doing
busy.
differently?
I've been selling. I've been selling in suburbs. I've been selling in Newton, Wellesley. I have a listing. Brookline. I have a listing. So
Wow.
it just for some reason I transitioned out to the suburbs when the market changed. So I'm going out
Because
there,
you're great and people find you where they need you. And that's a great lesson for
or
everybody
I
on this
go where they need me to
podcast.
go.
Yeah. So I want to ask you the final three.
Okay.
And this used to be like, we're going to whip through the final three, but now it started taking a long time because this is when it really gets good sometimes. So on the final three, the first question is, what in your business do you think has made you, like, what's your best resource to make you successful? Is it a app? Is it a CRM? Is it a certain practice that you do in generating business development? Is it how you know your market? Like, it's a broad one, but
I
what
feel,
makes you most successful?
I feel like um, the reason why I get most of my business, and I think the connection when I have with people, when I speak with them and when I meet with them, is there's a comfort level. Maybe I put people at ease. I don't know. I mean, not everyone probably likes that style, but I feel like that most of my business comes from people that you just you're not don't make them nervous or uptight, or just it's a very natural process.
Yeah.
As long as they like that feeling of it being easy.
Yeah. Well, you're very authentic and down to earth and um there's probably a lot of people who feel comfortable kind of trusting you, confiding you when they need or
Yeah. Yeah.
so one answer to that is authenticity.
Yes.
Um, Anything else you want to add to that?
No, I think that's basically what. I mean, I don't use anything special to no apps or. Not, I told you, I mean, everything's in my head.
That like that at least that's got to keep your brain like in check.
Toes, that's for sure.
So on that, we didn't visit on this. Let's do this for a minute. You're doing crazy business. How are you keeping up with it other than in your head? You've got an assistant, and is that it?
That's it. Yeah.
And what does she do? You show the properties, you meet the clients, you have the
Yeah.
network. What is she doing?
Well, it all comes down to organizing, like the photographers, videographers. She does all of that for me. She does all the data for MLS. She does all of my Doclube and DocuSign contract.
Oh,
I can't do. I mean, she really is she's like my rock. I mean, I couldn't do it without her. I mean, literally, my head I wouldn't be memorizing my day, believe me. The next day, I'd be worried about all this other stuff that I don't have to worry about.
yeah.
I mean, even like I'm doing a new website right now. So she's been dealing with the website people in LA. I mean, she does anything behind the scenes, and very rarely she'll show, but she does help me when if I'm double timed up or something, she'll be there for me. So, and she's a licensed realtor. She actually is an active realtor. She has her own business.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah,
So how do you do that?
I mean, we just, it's worked for us. It's really worked. I mean, she is a doer and she gets it done and she gets it done timely. And I think she does it from wherever she's at.
Wow. So
Yeah.
she does your marketing, your paperwork, your closings,
Contracts.
everything,
Yeah.
everything other than interact with clients.
Yes.
Well, she probably does that too, but you interact, negotiate, show,
Right.
prospect. Well,
Yeah.
do you prospect or business at this point is probably just coming to you?
Yeah. I'm not prospecting right now. No, it's just mostly I mean, it really is all referrals.
It might be a little awkward right now.
Yeah. I mean, I think everyone's going with relationships too. I think people need to feel comfortable with who's coming in their home, who's not coming in their home. They have to trust the agent. I think they're going to go with someone they know, someone they've dealt with
Yeah.
before, or a friend that's just sold a place. Cause it's scary for some people who live in their homes, the way that it's
Yeah.
sanitized and all that stuff. So do you have to deal
Yeah.
with that in your market? You have to go through and wipe everything down or
Hey,
not?
you're the one being interviewed here. We do. It was more, people were more acutely aware of it before than they were now. And it depends on the seller and if it's a high risk situation. But we've had situations where we schedule the showings only at certain hours,
Right.
depending on the market, because you've also got to assess, like, because the market's hot here. So we've got to assess, okay, what are the sellers' needs? What is the market doing? Talk to them about what they need, what the market's doing, what they want to do, what they're comfortable with.
Yeah.
The general consensus in Atlanta is everybody shows up in masks.
Yeah.
In some homes, masks and gloves. Some
Right.
homes, I touch and clean everything. They don't touch anything.
That's what I do. Yeah.
Most homes,
Every cabinet.
most homes, it's not, it's just we're wearing a mask and we're staying far away from one another.
Yeah.
It depends.
Yeah.
So
a lot of my sellers who have homes outside of Boston have just packed up and said, good luck, sell it. Let me know.
that's nice.
When I get the moving truck. Yeah, they're going to the Cape or New Hampshire or Vermont and just not coming back.
That makes it easy.
Yeah.
For you. That's nice.
Yeah.
Next question.
Yes.
Is there a book that you're just like, this changed my life or career or both? You can't live your life and not read this.
No.
How did I know that was going to be your answer?
I know. It's like, I feel like.
That's the worst. That's my least favorite answer.
I mean, the one book that impacted me, I think, when I read it was Tuesdays with Morrie.
I cried.
Yeah.
I read that on a plane. It was crying in front of everybody on the plane.
Maybe too. I think I read it, like I sped read it. I think it was just one of those things that really impacted me and just told you about enjoy life and, enjoy every moment. And I feel like that would be, but otherwise, no, I feel like, all those self-help books, sorry.
I think that's your secret sauce. You enjoy life and present every moment. What's your biggest source of inspiration?
I don't know. Inspiration, what inspires me. I just feel like it's more that I love what I do. I just feel so lucky to, 99% of the time love what I do. And I think that's what drives me and makes me get up and go every day.
What do you love about what you do?
I think it's the people thing. I think that, I love that I make new friends, new relationships. I think the referral part of it gives you some satisfaction that you did a good job. I feel like, to make someone happy with a purchase, it's like, and it's the biggest investment that they'll basically make in their lives. So you're a big part of their life. I used to tease people all the time that, if you work with someone and you're with them for 6 months or a year, whatever, I said, well, we're in the honeymoon stage. I said, as soon as you close, we're going to be getting a divorce. You're never going to talk to me again.
It's true.
Yeah, that's basically what it is, right? You're in this relationship. Then all of a sudden the relationship's over until they want to get back in the relationship and they sell.
It's so true. Do you ever I remember I had a client, I'll have clients and what I love about this business is you become friends with people in a way that is so much more fulfilling than not working with them to sell their house, because you're really helping them.
Yeah. And then you help everything too. I'm, doing everything from finding the decorator or lady or anything, you're doing everything. It's like you're full service.
And then I love it when they say, when this is all over, you're not going to talk to us anymore. And I'm like, actually, when this is all over, you're not going to talk to me anymore.
Yes.
That's actually how this is going to go down, because I'll still love you, but you'll get busy and you'll move on until you need me again. But that's okay.
Yeah, that's exactly
true.
Yeah.
It's so true. I love that. I feel the same way. What is one thing, the biggest piece of advice you would say, everybody listening to this, if you're going to just remember one thing or take one piece of advice about business, in this business, what would it be?
The one thing I think that I pride myself on is just response. I think that some people just don't get it, that, if your client's trying to reach out to you and it's important to them, might not be important to you, but it's important to them. And I feel like the biggest complaint I've heard from my clients from maybe getting the client is because they said, well, I'd call my broker on Monday and they would call me back Tuesday night. And I'd be like, what?
Oh, wow.
So I think that, if you can get that response thing down, people will respect you and want to deal with you. And will realize that you take your job serious. But if you're, you know, someone who's a delayed reaction person, that's not going to work in this business. I think that you really need to be on point. And, you know, and I even say to people, if I can't talk to you right now, I at least try to text them or email them or some communication to say, I'm with clients, I'll call you in 2 hours. So they know that I'm thinking about them and I'm going to reach out to them. Not that I'm too busy and I'll call you when I'm done.
God, let's say replay. Like, that is some of the best advice ever. Because if we don't tell them how important they are to us and we're not responding, they're panicking and writing a story in their heads that that's not accurate usually with reality.
It's 90 degrees out in August. They probably think, oh, she's out in the boat somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
You know, or somewhere, or the pool. That's the conversation they're having. They're not thinking.
Or somebody's more important than me, or is it a more expensive property than mine? Or, and that's one of my biggest things is like, this isn't even, at some point it stops being, I can't remember when, but it just stops being even about the money because, you know,
I know.
It's not about the price point. It's
right.
It's
I mean,
about,
if I told someone a $5 million house and their nephew was moving to Boston, their parents wanted to buy them a studio for $500,000, I treat them the same way I treat the $5 million person.
Yeah.
You know, that's another advice I can give to someone: treat everybody the same, no matter what the price point is.
Well, some of the best advice I got a long time ago was you're being interviewed even when you don't know you're being interviewed.
Yeah, exactly.
For the job. You're always and the best people to hire you are people who got to know you and hired you. Now, when you're new in the business, this is different, but the people who knew they were going to hire you 2 years ago and you were on the list to hire,
right?
And they hired because the relationship's established
and
the business is going. And when you're new, I think the advice would be just remember that.
Yeah.
Do a great job now to get that traction moving forward.
The aha moment. I remember I was having lunch with one of my clients, and very high-end client, and he was discussing how he hired people, and I'm sure it was coming towards me in some way, but it wasn't coming towards me. But he was telling me a story about how when they hired people at his firm, that the people, you know, came from all prestigious Ivy League schools, whatever, and they would go through, you know, partner 1, partner 2, partner 3, but he was the head honcho. So just say they went through 3 to 5 interviews, but the last interview was with him, and he would take them to lunch, and he would hire them not based on what all those partners said. He hired them based on how they treated the waiter. And that was my aha moment.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God. You know, when you go out with some people and they're just like mean to the waiter or like treat them like crap or whatever. He's like, I didn't care where they went to college, what degrees they had, because I did not want to welcome anyone into my family and my business that wasn't going to treat everybody the way I wanted to be treated. And I was like, wow.
And that's a sure way of figuring that out.
Yeah.
Maybe we should do all of our listing and client appointments over lunch.
Yes. Exactly.
We should. Everybody, if you hire me, actually, my clients don't listen to this as much as agents, but now you know, all my listing appointments are going to be on lunch dates. So are y'all going to restaurants in Boston?
Outdoor only.
Okay.
Yeah. So I've gone out a couple times. It's been fine, but they keep the tables 6 feet apart and everyone
so nice.
Wear a mask until you sit down, then you can take it off.
That's how it is here.
The waiter has to wear the mask the whole time.
That's how it is here. We eat inside, and I always eat outside just because I prefer it.
Same.
But yeah, interesting. All right, so we're gonna close this out. This is like usually we close it out with like the one thing, and we're off. But you finally had your aha moment about how we're gonna treat how you're gonna be hired. But really, like that's great advice. The guy who hired people. What was your takeaway from that though? On that, just in life in general?
Well, I think because it's funny that I was always in the industry, right? I was always a bartender or a waitress. And I think that it really struck home with me because of how some people had treated me in the past. And I'd be like, wow, how can you treat me that way? I'm just the waitress. I'm not the cook or the this or the that, you know? So I think that it really just struck a chord that, yeah, it's true. Like, I know that I've been in this situation. And I know that I've been treated badly and I know how it feels, you know, and who wants to be around someone like that?
And do you think because remember earlier in the interview, we said you know, you have found in business, I find mine's more subconscious. I'll look back and think about not following up with somebody, and I thought, oh, and then I whatever. But to you, do you think that's a little bit of how you kind of let yourself be attracted and not attracted to certain deals? Or
Yeah, I'm sure I've got a bad vibe from certain people. You know, I'm just like,
yeah,
I've been doing this for a long time, and I think I want to continue with my happiness of my career, and I don't want to bring in some, you know, negativity or. So
yeah,
sometimes when I feel, like you said, it's not always about the money. It's about, you know, just being happy to do your job. And if you're not happy doing your job, then what's it worth? I mean, it's like,
yeah.
you know, I'm fortunate that I can make that decision now. I
Well,
mean,
it can be very expensive to bring on deals that aren't going to work, or
right.
you're not the best fit for, the client's not the best fit for you, or whatever it is.
No, I mean, I've
All
said
right.
to people I'm not the best fit and I can refer them someone.
Yeah. So back to the one thing, because we're going to reel it home now.
Yeah.
The one thing I've already forgotten.
What was it? Me too.
Let's come up with another one thing. It must not have been that good.
Wait a minute. The one thing.
I've only done 100. This is going to be 184,
Oh
I
my
think.
God. You do one a week?
Yeah.
Oh gosh. Oh gosh.
Yeah. I'm getting way too slack. Let's do another one thing. What was the one thing?
That what? That you should give to a broker?
No. Oh
Advice?
no. We want advice about this business.
I just gave it to you. Remember I said the
Yeah.
how to be treated, and then the other thing was
That was your aha.
response. Response.
Yes, that is,
That
yeah,
was
we're
it.
not changing that advice.
No.
We're
You
just going to
like that.
reel it back
You
in
like that
again.
advice. Yeah.
Like, answer your phone, respond to your text, and if you can't, give them a text that says, I'm getting right back to you
Yeah.
in X minutes or whatever. That is good advice. We're going to leave it with that.
Thanks.
Everybody, go ahead and make fun. Beth, you are fabulous. I cannot thank you enough for being on. It's so good to see you.
Having me. It's my first podcast.
I can't believe somebody that's as big of a badass as you are. This is the first.
It's the first.
That's ridiculous.
Oh,
Well, now that we've like trained her and warmed her up, everybody, we'll bring her back on and we'll have her tell us about her listing presentation or something really exciting.
the camera for the Zoom call.
What's that?
The camera to put on my computer.
Oh yeah. Now we figured out that it was covered before. You had to uncover it.
All right.
Anyway, Beth, you're awesome. Thanks so much for being on the show. Good to see you. Everybody, Beth Dickerson, top real estate agent in the country and, of course, in Boston, Massachusetts. Thank you again, Beth, for coming on. And with Sotheby's International Realty.
Okay, thanks.